Hello everyone, in today's talk I'm going to discuss a skill, or rather a fantastic habit that's absolutely essential. No matter who you are, if you don't have this habit, it's going to be incredibly tough to grow and develop. That habit is reading books. In our lives, we generally learn in two ways. The first is through the people we meet, the things we see, and the environments we interact with daily. Of course, that's the best way to learn, but its downside is that it's limited by space and time. Books were created to address the shortcomings of that first method. They represent the second way of learning, allowing us to learn across space and time. If you don't read books, it's going to take you forever to understand how world-famous companies like Toyota, Microsoft, or Google operate, so you can learn from them. How would you know if you don't read? You'll never have the chance to learn directly from the masterpieces of business giants like Al Ries, Peter F., Drucker, or Philip Kotler. These are people who've influenced the economy and management knowledge of nearly every CEO worldwide. Without learning through books, you'll almost certainly never get the opportunity to encounter such great minds. That's why the skill of reading is so crucial. The big things in life, we have to learn them through books. It's truly a shame for anyone who wants to grow, but doesn't read, because you'll definitely fall behind and struggle to keep up with the times. That's why today I'm going to share with you 7 steps to master the skill of reading. These are 7 comprehensive steps that I have applied to my own life. One of my core principles when sharing knowledge is to never share anything I haven't personally accomplished. Because of that, this talk will be somewhat subjective. The first step before you even start reading needs to be established before you dive in. You have to know what you need in order to choose the right book. A lot of people go to a library or browse online, see a bestseller, or a heavily advertised book and buy it. This often leads to the problem of buying a book but never actually opening it to read. That's because they skip the critical first step in the reading process, knowing what you need to read in order to select the right book. For me, I usually choose books based on 2 criteria. The first is to read what I love the most. Of course, what I love the most here should be related to my work, not just for entertainment. Sometimes you might read a joke book that's something you enjoy, but it's only for fun. If you want to expand your knowledge or advance your career, that's not going to cut it. For example, if I love sales, I'll look for books on sales to read. Or if I love writing stories, I'll find books that teach storytelling. That's the first criterion: read what you love the most. But if you don't know what you love, I suggest following this second criterion. Read about what you're worst at, but know is necessary. For instance, if your communication skills are weak, and you realize that without improving them, you can't progress in your career, then I recommend reading based on this criterion. Focus on what you're bad at, but know you need. Moving on to step 2, this is where you start selecting and buying books. Just go to an online bookstore and type in a keyword. For example, I might type communication and hit search. When the recommended books pop up, scroll down and choose ones with at least a 4-star rating. This step is simple but can help you avoid books that aren't great. Step 3 is to skim through the book's content. I want you to treat it like a dictionary. Open the table of contents, find the section you're most interested in, need the most, or feel most excited about, and read that first. This way, the book becomes like a dictionary you use to address the gaps in your life. If you feel you're lacking in a certain area, check the table of contents and prioritize reading those parts. Let's say the book has an introduction and 9 chapters. I'll look at the table of contents like I'm consulting a dictionary. Suppose I'm really bad at communication, feel like my conversations are awkward, and want to read this book to improve. I'll skim the table of contents to see which section feels most relevant and necessary to read first. Introduction. Chapter 1. Nonverbal charm. Don't know what that is. Skip it. Chapter 2. Conversation. Starters. This is what I need. When I go to meetings or social events, I just sit quietly, too shy to speak. If I learn how to start conversations, that could make a difference. Okay, I'll grab a pen and mark this section so I remember to read it first. That's how you start skimming through chapters like this. You have to remember to read at your current reading ability. Don't rush to read quickly. I see a lot of young people chasing the trend of speed reading, but when you ask them about the content they just read most, can't recall a single thing. So what's the point of reading fast if you don't retain anything? Please prioritize quality. Work on improving your reading skills. It's better to read one book thoroughly than to skim through 30 books and barely grasp their main points. And when you read, stick to physical books, not ebooks. With a physical book, you can hold a pen, mark the good parts, and interact directly with the text, which is much better. Ebooks make it hard to focus. That's step 3. Now let's move to step 4, which I'll call temporary recall. When you've read the parts you found most important, necessary, useful, or exciting. In step 3, ask yourself, what did I just read? You need to ask this to make sure you actually remember the content. If you read casually, you won't retain anything. Reading superficially or skimming makes it easy to forget. If you read it a second time, what we call reviewing, you might remember a little, but it's still not very effective. The method I want you to use here is recall. What does recall mean? After finishing the 2 chapters you found most compelling or useful, close the book and spend 15 minutes thinking about what you just read. I guarantee that if you follow this recall step, you'll lock those insights into your mind for a long time. Skip this step, and within 3 or 7 days, you'll forget the book's content entirely. By using recall, you build a foundation of knowledge, the parts of the book you found most relevant, interesting, and necessary. This foundation helps you connect to other parts of the book without getting lost. A new book in an unfamiliar field might cover concepts that feel advanced or overwhelming. Without a solid foundation, how can you grasp those higher-level ideas? You need that foundation as a stepping stone to reach the core knowledge. This is critical. I consider step 4 one of the most important steps. Without it, everything falls apart. You'll read the book but won't remember a thing. A month later, it's all gone, so how can you apply it to your life? Now let's move to step 5, read completely. Using the foundation built through the recall method in step 4, asking yourself, what did I just read you now have the necessary groundwork to read the entire book without getting lost or confused? Read the book from start to finish, slowly and enjoyably. Underline the good parts, and if you don't understand something, mark it and jot a note, like, I don't get this, I'll revisit it later. Write clearly in ink, not pencil. You bought the book, so write in it freely, don't worry about keeping it pristine. The real concern is if your mind stays empty and doesn't absorb anything. If you find the author's views don't align with your situation, or seem off, mark those too. Be bold in questioning, challenging, and debating the content you read. Don't blindly believe everything just because it's written. Whether it's a book or any information, stay sharp and critical of anything you doubt. Not every book is perfectly correct. That's step 5, read completely. Remember to read with enthusiasm and enjoyment, and don't rush. Step 6 is reread. This step is also crucial, second only to the temporary recall step, step 4. I sincerely recommend rereading the book once more after your first full read. Reread it completely, including both the author's content and your own notes, questions, and critiques. At this point, you're reading with a level of understanding you didn't have when you first started. Don't skip this step, or you'll forget the book's content. After reading it once and getting a basic grasp, rereading it is amazing. You'll feel enlightened with every page. You'll sense your mind expanding, which is what makes it exciting. Don't just read for the sake of reading. If you're going to read, make it high quality. I'm personally doing exactly what I'm sharing based on my own love for reading. Now, after these 6 steps, do you think we're done? Not yet. There's one final step, and without it, all the reading is pointless. Step 7 is apply. All the knowledge, wisdom, and amazing insights you've gained so far belong to someone else. They're meaningless if you don't use them or do something with them. After completing the 6 steps, ask yourself, what's one thing I need to do to apply what I learned from this book? In short, what action will you take after learning from this book? After deeply reading a book, it's easy to find at least one thing that resonates with you and can be acted upon. For example, after reading Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh, the founder of Zappos, the world's largest shoe company, I came across a chapter about creating joy for employees. After reading it, I immediately reviewed the work structure and salaries at my own company. I decided to reduce workloads and increase salaries by 5% to ease pressure, helping employees feel more relaxed and creative. The book explained that pressure kills creativity, so I needed to care about my employees' happiness. To do that, I lightened their workload and boosted their pay, giving them more time to relax. That decision was spot on. My employees worked with a completely different mindset. Instead of pushing them to work harder or more seriously, a small tweak made a big difference. Their work quality improved despite less workload. Without reading that book, how would I have known to do this? Another example I read, The Enzyme Factor, a health book about how our diet, exercise, and mindset maintain enzyme levels in our body. The more enzymes we have, the healthier we are. The day after finishing it, I went to the supermarket and bought foods my body truly needed, instantly improving my diet. Remember, reading without applying is meaningless. That's how you truly elevate yourself. Otherwise, all your effort is like pouring water into the sea. This is why so many people study a lot, but remain utterly ineffective in life. They stop at step 6 and don't do anything with what they've learned. So I've just shared the method I've applied to my own life, and I hope these 7 steps will transform yours. That's what I want most. When you know more, almost every problem in life becomes solvable. Life feels less stuck. Your finances improve and your joy multiplies. Thank you so much, and I look forward to sharing more with you next time.